Good evening, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to another edition of Inside the Walls podcast, episode 176. Into the Mine with the Willing Miners. Our guest this evening will be Head Coach Resignalo for the Willing Miners, but I can't do this without my two partners in crime, Matt Patton, and the guy with many talents and even a new title, Jeff. How are you doing, gents?
Good.
Yeah, doing well.
Matt, you missed a good episode last week, sir.
Yeah, I did. Unfortunately, I wasn't able to join you guys. I was kind of sad about it, but I watched the whole thing back. You guys did a bang-up job as I expected. So, yeah.
Speaking about bang-up job, we have some announcements to make on this episode. If you were watching a lot of our Twitter accounts and social media platforms over the past weekend, as you know, Through the Wire, not Through the Wire, that we did that show last night. Inside the Walls podcast will be live in Wheeling, West Virginia for NAL Game Day, which we might actually do a Through the Wire too there when we're up there. So there could be something additional stuff there. But on that event, multiple guests besides the three gents on the far right of your screen. And of course, the two head coaches will be joined too. Coach Shaw, Colorado, Coach Resignalo, and the big one, the Steelers are in town and they'll be doing autographs and they'll be stopping by on the show for game day as we break down the Willing Miners and the Colorado Spartans in week 1 action. But as you know, the main event of the show is the guys on the right, the three individuals on the right. We are the main event. That's why we're there. But yes, NAL Game Day kicks off on Monday night. We're targeting around 4 o'clock Eastern, live on all social media platforms, including National Arena League, Facebook, and their platforms as well. So we'll be everywhere for the kickoff. Also, camp starts next week. We're going to touch up some quick NAL news and updates before we get our guests and start. We break down the Willing Miners for this episode. Quick news around the league. Shreveport looks like they sealed up a local deal with a local news station, which was cool. They made that announcement today. It's big for that area of the country for them, especially that organization that's going through the roof. Also, there's some changes happening in Carolina. We'll get more information on that. Looks like head coach Brandon Negron is becoming the president, so they'll be naming the new head coach hopefully by next week's episode. Inside the Walls, we can break that down even more. And also, camp starts next week. But also, there's some updates that the league may come out with, because you know the sport is as it is. Just keep your eyes tuned to Inside the Walls podcast and any league platforms for updated information for the National Arena League. And of course, follow us on all social media platforms. Let's go to you, Matt. Any updates? What's going on in your world? Nothing really crazy? Anything
No,
good?
not really. We just had a Super Bowl party for the Omaha Beef, so that was fun. Just got to see some of the front office staff and a lot of the fans and all that stuff. So that was pretty fun. But yeah, nothing major here. I mean, other than last week when we had the GOAT Lorenzo Brown on the podcast, but no big deal.
Yeah. And Jeff, what's going on in your world?
Nothing really. Excited about camp starting next Thursday. So Coach Rez will talk more about that here in a little bit. I feel like this is an extended Through the Wire from yesterday, but so I'm here for it.
If you listen to my gaffe that just happened early in the episode, I thought it was Through the Wire because I was meant to go like, let me mention that because it feels like an extenuation. But to the fans who are listening to this on all podcast platforms and on YouTube and on Facebook, this is the episode dedicated to the Willing Miners, where we break down rosters, schedule, events, what's going on with Willing. We'll get in depth of what Coach Rez is doing up there. Willing, some big things happening just besides, not by us going up there, there's other things happening that the organization is setting up. But no further ado, you want to introduce the head coach there, Jeff, seeing that you work for the guy. Or
Sure.
I work for the guy too. So we all work for the guy.
Technically. But got to learn under this man last year in the business sense of arena football, to learn the business side of things, and also, a little bit of coaching here and there. My coach, the people's coach, Coach Joshua Resignalo.
Oh,
Love it.
How we doing,
Love
Coach?
good, man. What's going on with y'all?
I clicked the wrong button. I meant to put you in, not in the LA Knight. I do apologize.
It fit, I was going to say it fit perfectly, so I was good with it.
Perfect.
Yeah, it's perfect. It's perfect.
Well, Coach, to the fans who want to know any updates for the Willing Miners, tune in every Wednesday night, 6 o'clock, Through the Wire. And if you're in Willing, we'll be on the radio on Friday nights. But, Coach, A lot of people who listen to Inside the Walls don't know what's been going on with Wheeling over the last couple of weeks or a month. Give us a quick overlap or coverage of what you did winning the AAL title to when we're at now.
Yeah, so we hit the ground running. Ripping and running through the off season. We've been really working since the season ended. Had a team in place here on the ground with Matt Porter and Julie Bratton. They were doing a lot of stuff for us. Jeff really got involved in the off season, doing a lot of things, helping with the graphics, and ended up getting a new title and getting some more roles with some things, and really just focusing on building our brand and business, and everything that we did this off season so far has been much more receptive from the community, more so than last year. Being a first year team, it was almost everyone was guarded, really not quite sure how they wanted to handle. They love football here, but they've had so much come and go that, and you guys been covering the industry for a long time, and you've seen the teams come and go, and it's just hard sometimes on the markets. And when you go to a team that's had market that's had multiple teams, you really got to pay attention and make sure you're doing everything that you're saying that you're going to do, making sure that you're involved with things in the community. Everyone says they want to be a part of the community. Everybody says they want to be a part of the community, but you have to be entrenched into the community. You actually got to be doing stuff with the community members. Some of the things I just met with one of our first nonprofits they were adding with us for this year, for some of the things that we're going to partner with. We're only going to really partner with 2 nonprofits this year. Last year we did 1 for each game. And at the end of the day, it's cool to be able to give back to them, but very minimal, from a 1 game 50-50, for instance, versus having 2 and spreading all the games to everybody. Then you're able to really give them a decent check at the end for multiple games of a 50-50 draw for them for their donation towards their nonprofit. And the first one is Appalachian Outreach. Now, I know Jeff's familiar with that one. That's a one that's on the south side of Wheeling. It's kind of like a thrift store in a sense. They do a lot more stuff than that, with furniture and stuff for needy families and different things like that. So some of the things that our players will be able to help with, we'll utilize some of our big dudes and help them move in some furniture, and they'll appreciate that down there. And Chris Thomas, one of our supporters and community partners this year, has been a real big help on helping make some contacts with some people. But all around with the ownership, they wanted to make sure that we were doing things. Things probably were a little slower for them because, unfortunately, I coach high school football too. So juggling all that stuff from North Carolina to here, was challenging at times. But everything that we really did in that offseason, those first few months of the summer, once I really got on the ground here, things started moving because we had a lot of stuff in place. Sales is always what you do today is for tomorrow. Like, nothing you do today when you're talking to these businesses is now. Do we close some deals on the first try, your first meeting? Yeah. And Ricky's chimed in on here. He'll be the first to tell you, doing that in Omaha, sometimes you do get lucky enough, and the business that you're talking to will love everything they had you had me at hello, like type stuff, and sign off on the deal and be done with it. But some, just like normal sales, universal across the country, corporate world, everything, sometimes you got to talk to people 5, 6, 7 times to really build that rapport and get them to, because today people still buy from people, so if you're a knucklehead going in there talking and you look like crap, you're not representing the team very well, they're not giving you money. And there's people that don't really, everyone has their ways, and not everyone agrees with the way I do things sometimes, but what I do and the way I do it for me works. And everyone has their own way of doing things, from sales to coaching, all the aspects. So we've been really good on our sales this year. Ticket sales, all aspects of community. We started a youth flag league this year with the YMCA. They'll be playing games on our field leading up to our game that night on game days. Except for the first game, since it's on Monday night. So that's a little tough to do that during the day when kids are doing school. And that'll run parallel with a reading program that's going to be established through the elementary schools and middle schools from that. So a lot of cool stuff with the community. I expect the West Bank will be packed. especially that first game. We want to host Colorado well. Since we do have that, and I've been saying it on all our shows, a quote unquote developmental tag. We were a developmental team and all this junk, and that's cool. And we're going to have that tag on us until we get through the season and everyone sees what we're really about. And anybody that knows me knows that we're going to have a pretty dang good roster. We're going to have some really good players. They're going to be coached up well. We'll have one of the top coaching staffs in the country. NAL, IFL, doesn't matter. And we're here for business. Like we want to win another championship. And, that's nothing but a goal.
So really nothing happening.
No.
I do know firsthand, this is a man with many talents. Like I told him personally up there last year, like I would have quit like 2 weeks ago. Like you're calling one person, calling this. I'm like, how the hell do you do this stuff? But people don't realize that usually a head coach is the GM, is the president. They're doing all the selling. You're always out in the community. But let's move away from the side of community stuff and talk about the players you got back. Bringing back and willing, some guys you get new additions from other teams and other leagues now coming and willing. What was the main focus this offseason to build this Willie Minor team?
Well, first and foremost, our biggest thing in the beginning was concentrating on the trenches. So one of my biggest philosophies that I learned early in my early time, with coaching, and had a really good GM, and this was his saying, but I've really have taken that and carried it with me everywhere I've gone. He's one of the older AFL, AF2 guys. Steve Fickert is his name, was my GM. He's been around a long time. He's been coached with Coach Fuller out in Bakersfield. So that's how long he's been around doing all that stuff. But protect ours and get after theirs. If we can protect our quarterback and get after theirs, you're going to win a lot of games. So the differences between all of our leagues, from all the different leagues that are out there, is the bigs, is up front. We dominated last year in the league that we were in because we had professional dudes on the O-line. We had professional dudes on the D-line. So the other teams that we played, they all didn't. Jersey had some good players. So those were our tougher games because they actually had some decent guys up front. So that's what really separated us. That's all the differences in this league. We got probably one of the top O-lines in the league. By far, we got one of the top D-lines in the league right now. It doesn't matter. We were AAL, NAL, PIFL, UIFL. It doesn't freaking matter. The alphabet leagues. We're here to play, and it's cool. And I joke and I say the developmental stuff, and don't forget to say we're that developmental team, because when a developmental team comes into your house and slaps you upside the head and walks out with a W and taking your pizza on the road, you're going to feel bad about that. You're going to realize really quick that we ain't a developmental team. So, that's what it comes down to. And, I get fired up talking about it because people hadn't seen yet, what they got. They're seeing the past stuff, and but we'll see how it is. I get that every year. Jim, how many times have you been on the show? They get the same crap. It's like, can you not look at the dang roster and look at some of these names of where these guys have come from and their experience and their backgrounds and everything all across the board? That's just the way it is. Who's on your coaching staff? Anyone new?
Ricky, going to report.
Again, we will have the top coaching staff in the country. There's Ricky's guys there. They do a great job, but unfortunately, we don't get to see them until the end. And I know they're chopping at the bit. But we all got to take care of business first to get to where we're trying to go. We all got a tough schedule, and anyone can win anytime.
Coach, you mentioned about them saying developmental league, this, that, and the third, but a lot of people don't understand this is not your first go around in the NAL. This is going to be your 5th season, 4th as a head coach. What kind of how does that help you go into the locker room and say, hey, I've been here before, this is what we have to do to succeed?
So I don't really look at the league stuff like that, right? Overall, I mean, we all know the NAL, the IFL, we just came from the AAL2 and all that stuff, but you can't look at it like that, because we treat it as this is our NFL. These are our players' opportunity to play at the highest level right now. Wherever you came from, this is your highest level right now. Do you know why? Because you're sitting right here in the locker now. You are not anywhere else. It doesn't matter where you came from. We are in this moment right now. And this is what we got to concentrate on, no matter where you came from. And if we're in the NAL or whatever the heck it's called, it doesn't matter. We have a job to do. And we have a lot of players on our team with that are veterans and got great experience. Some played in the NAL last year. Some have been in the NAL for a couple years. What I'm most excited about, though, from the league change, because it was tough last year to keep the fan engagement with some of the games, because when you're beating teams by a whole lot, fans lose interest very quickly if the game is boring. So we took it upon ourselves to try to add more stuff with the drum line, all those things like that to create that atmosphere. So what I'm most excited about with the NAL, with my experience, is bringing that to the Valley here. So the fans get the chance to see some of these other teams. Like Colorado, Coach Shaw is a hell of a coach. Those guys are going to be ready, and they're going to come in here. They're not going to be the Peach State Cats, right? So they're going to be solid all the way across the board, and that's what I'm most excited about. Even if we lost 61-60, our fans were excited, and they left with a smile on their face, ready to come back. At the end of the day, we did our job, right? But I ain't trying to lose. So that's out of the question. But there is a business piece to this too that people don't realize.
Ricky is doing his best White House press secretary type of situation, demanding stuff. I'm just saying.
And just like the past people reading stuff, they're bypassing that media and they're not paying attention to the actual questions.
So, Coach, you talked a little bit about, people, if they looked at your roster and they just saw the guys that were on the roster, kind of what they would think of your team, right? I look at your roster and I see you've got a guy coming back like Grant Russell, who's been a quarterback for you guys for a couple years now. But then I also look at guys like Fred Hardgrove, who come over from the Omaha Beef with that championship pedigree. Just talk a little bit about maybe some of the guys that you think the fans should really keep their eyes on this roster specifically.
Yeah, so, the biggest thing for us was with the quarterback situation, right? So we weren't sure if Grant was coming back. We did not know if he was coming back. He just recently was married, earlier in the year last year, as everybody came to find out, because he missed a game because he went on his honeymoon. I'll never forget telling my high school kids that coaching when I was telling them about our quarterback was gone. They said, who was out of the quarterback that was in there? Where was your starter at? I said, he was on his freaking honeymoon. And high school kids, right? So they don't really pay attention to all that stuff. They're like, honeymoon? Like, we ain't never heard of that before. I was like, yeah, because you're freaking 16, dude. So we weren't quite sure if he was coming back. And so we were searching out there. We had our eyes on some guys. And when it came down, we were talking to Grant on the phone, and he was on speaker and his wife was in the background. So I said, this was around October or something like that. And so I was like, are you guys pregnant yet? Because they were trying to start a family. It was what it's coming down to with him being not sure if he was going to play or not. So, and they said, nope, not yet. And I said, well, that means ain't no baby coming. So that means we can get half a season in before you have to have any issues with the baby coming again. So, and his wife was laughing and thought that was funny and stuff. And then, so that kind of eased it back in and was really to be able to lock that down and get him situated. He's a school teacher. So some of the things we did last year wasn't really going to cut it this year because of the competition. And we got to be on our game and make sure that everyone, it's a lot more to it. There's a lot of preparation and film and meetings and different things like that. And practices are important. So, being able to make things work for him is what locked it in. And so getting Grant back was the number one issue for us to make sure that we locked that in. On top of our offensive line, I felt it was a big deal picking up CJ Kane from Carolina. That was a big pickup for us. The last couple of years trying to get him to play, and things never really worked out for whatever reason. And and then the other guys that we have, on up front, Izzy's coming back. Joel was a rookie last year, so he's in the mix. We got a couple new guys, McLean, DeJua. I think we lost a couple guys to some F1 stuff, so we ended up having to suspend them. And and then we pick up this 6'8", 350-pound dude, right? So that's got some really good experience, and his film looked pretty decent. A lot of times when guys are that big, you worry about flexibility and different things like that. But this guy's a beast, right? So a couple other guys that we got on the offensive line. I'm pretty excited about that group. Less guys in that situation, maybe one or two that aren't going to make it, through camp. But now you get to the receiver group and the DB group, it's going to be tough making some of those decisions. Like I said on the show last night, it's going to be hard to put those groups in like a depth chart order because our 8th receiver isn't the 8th receiver. And so, but numbers wise, we have to put them in a role in a situation just because of the depth chart, because we can't keep everybody, unfortunately. So some of these guys are going to end up playing on other teams. I don't have to worry about our closest team because they can't really accommodate, people coming just out of the blue like that last minute. So don't have to worry about that. There's other situations, other places. And we always try to help guys, right? So if there's an opportunity to get them somewhere else, then we'll try to make that happen, but unfortunately it doesn't always work. And then you end up having to cut some guys. And so it'll be tough defensively. I'm excited with our guys up front. Adding Brandon Munoz to the D line is going to be a big deal for us. He played the last 2 years with the Sharks. So he's got a lot of indoor experience. That was important to get some guys from that kind of caliber, with us. Plus he played at Wheeling University and he lives from Baltimore. So it just made sense for him to be a little bit closer. And then our secondary, I'm excited about Tyree and them coming back, and Mason and Tinsley, and getting Khalil back after losing him to San Antonio in the IFL last year. So we got a great group of guys all across the board. It will not take, after that first dinner that we have our check-in on Tuesday next week. We have our physicals on Wednesday, our team dinner and meetings that Wednesday evening. We will have a tight group when we're leaving that team dinner and we're starting our first meetings, because everyone is familiar with everybody. 16 of our guys played on our team last year. So that was important, to really get that camaraderie and that rapport already, because that's usually what everyone is trying to do in camp in a short amount of time, is to get them all to jail as fast as possible. So when you go into that first week, there's a lot of things up in the air, but I feel like we'll have a leg up on some of these teams because, majority of our guys are coming back. So, I'm excited about that. We got a linebacker that's pretty solid, Javon Johnson, call him Agent Zero. This indoor game style is going to fit him and showcase his abilities. That's going to allow him to have a good season. And if he does the things that he should do and put up some good film, he might have an opportunity to play at the next level just because of his athletic ability, from that spot. Like he could easily play in the CFL or something like that. So I'm excited for these guys, really to see what they do in camp and put it all together. But I'm most anxious to see which ones we let go and end up going somewhere else.
Oh, we talked about that last night on Through the Wire. How many? I think did we set an over under for that?
We said. I thought 7. I think at least 7 or more. At least 7.
Or 8.
But also next week everything starts, and camp, as you know, it's a hectic business. You got 1 week to decide, basically. Then you got 1 week to prepare for the actual season. Describe what your camps are like compared to, I don't know, others. Wheeling camps compared to Caroline camps, compared to the Havoc, compared to High Country. Man, you've been everywhere. I'm not going to name all your organizations you were with. Just name how your camps are going to be this year.
I do the same thing every year. I do the same thing over and over. I do the same thing with stretch lines. I do the same thing with how we do our periods and how we do our structure of practice. We do a different situation every day. I got a great coaching staff, defensive coordinator that puts a lot of effort into this. Assistant coach.
They have a spammer in the chat, ladies and gentlemen. Please ignore the spammer in the chat.
But, what I look for in tryouts, right, when you're doing your warm-ups and the guys that are breathing hard and they're dying and you ain't even got out of freaking stretching yet, which ones have not been doing anything and they just came here off the couch. So freaking Ricky. So just overall, freaking Ricky got me all jacked up.
I want to do a poll on Inside the Walls. Who is the biggest troll, Coach Rez or Ricky?
I think we're even. I We enjoy it. It's good. It's good.
Mario and
Good.
Luigi.
Yeah,
Special teams
some
guys.
coaches, some coaches don't like jumping on the social media stuff and chiming in, and you got some old school guys that don't mess with that. But I like it. It's fun. You're right. It keeps everyone engaged. Everyone, I got a pretty good following. I got a lot of people that know who I am. They all don't like me. First and foremost, let's get that out of the way. But at least they know what I'm doing, right? And so all the players that have played for me will tell you that it's the same thing in camp. We're doing the same thing. We always usually start out with a conditioning test to kind of see who's who and who's what. Really kick off camp and get things rolling with that. So.
Ricky, if people listen on the podcast platform, Ricky Burtz is the owner of the Omaha Beef. He does this as a tradition here on Inside the Walls. He likes to come in, stir the pot even more, and then go.
He's trying to get me. He's trying to get me to talk about our full coaching staff. Is what he's trying to do.
So Coach Rez, are there any coaches that you'd like to announce?
Well, you know what we can announce.
Coach Montgamon is our defensive coordinator, and he's been the defensive coordinator at Willing University since their inception of bringing football back. They used to have football, went away, and then they brought it back, right, Jeff?
No, they had to have a team to stay in their conference, so they went as a club team for the first couple years, and then they made it a varsity sport.
So he has been with that program since day one. So he's a staple in this community. Everybody knows who Coach G is, and he's helped a lot of young athletes move on and better themselves. And
he's helped coach Pee Wee football in the area and stuff. Yeah, he's been
all kinds of stuff. And what was most exciting for him as a coach, we had 7 defensive players, alumni from Willing University that played for him in college, right? You guys had your quarterback on the other night when he was talking about playing for his coach in college and then going to play for him with Riggs, with Sioux Falls. Like, that's special. When you have those moments, like that's what we do as coaches. I've had high school kids that I've coached in high school that have gone on through college and then had the chance to coach and play in arena football. And for them to come back and play for you, obviously you did something right, towards that. I didn't think you were too much of an asshole, or they wouldn't have come play for you, right? If a coach does what he's supposed to do, he ain't going to have a lot of friends in the moment. But when those kids leave, or any players leave, and then they look back and see that kind of impact that those coaches had on their life, then it changes. That changes their mindset and the perception of, well, dang, when he was yelling and he'd make me run gasser, that's what he meant, or whatever. It could be anything. And so Coach G is that type of person. We're good friends. You want to have good people around you. That's important. But they have to be competent too. We just don't hire anyone just to have them, on staff. Like, I would rather just coach with 3 of us and move on, with it. So that's usually what your formula is with arena football. I can't stand these teams that have 7, 8, 9 coaches on their staff. For what? That's half your freaking roster. So, if you obviously don't care about the business, you don't have any clue about the operation budget. So, and probably those owners don't know a whole lot, and they let their coach do whatever. And that's why they don't last, because they're spending too much money.
But let's keep the theme with Willing. One thing I noticed over the last couple of months, you getting guys on the team, you focused on local talent, especially from Willing U. Was that the emphasis to keep the people, to find local talent and keep them in the Ohio Valley area?
So I got 4. We have 4 coaches there, Ricky. 4 and a half. Ask the question again.
Oh, why are you keeping it local with Willing?
So
with talent.
That's a good question. So my local and some other teams' local is different. Okay. My local is, if you get the chance to find somebody that was local here that played and went on to college or something, and they came back to play here, to play at home, that's one type. You got a guy that's played college there's 3 colleges right here. Add Waynesburg, add 2 more, add 3. We got like 7, 8 schools within the vicinity here that to me is local. If you played college football within distance of being here, that's local because the fans, it's all about marketing, and the fans know these guys, especially if they were big names at their school, mainly D2 guys, some D3 mixed in. Got WVU up the road, so you got some major colleges right over in Ohio. So to me, local guys like that for your region, that's important. Local semi-pro football players that with no housing and you think you're going to win a lot of games, that ain't happening, right? It's just not. It's proven, right? Most of your top teams in the IFL, I promise you, 90% of their guys are housed, probably more than that. Most of their roster is housed. But that's the difference of the tiers, really. The NAL, some of the teams house a lot of players. Some teams don't house a lot of players, for whatever reason. That's just their business model. Everyone has their mindset of how they're running their business and running their team. But the people that run it like a business are the most successful, are the ones like Omaha and Sioux City that's been around 20 plus years because they're running it like a business, not a football team. You can't be a football coach and running your team and hoping the business is successful. You can't do that. It has to be focused on business that happens to have a football team. So all that works with local players and bringing people back, like a Munoz that's been playing in Jacksonville for the last 2 seasons, getting him to come back. That's local. Everyone knows who Munoz is. Everyone that's local here knows who Brandon Munoz is. Mm-hmm. So he's a player that, like, he played high school football here. Everyone knows who he is. So that's the difference between a guy that's playing semi-pro football locally that probably didn't do anything and they probably didn't have grades and do all that stuff and didn't really make it anywhere. But he's supposed to be one of your stars. I don't know how that works. It doesn't work. So,
Jeff,
our emphasis was the best players we could get.
So, Coach Rez, we always talk about presentation and how things look and everything like that. Talk a little bit about the change of uniforms for this season. We did blue on black last year. We're going with the black and blue this year.
Yeah, so I think it's important for us to, change it up, keep it rolling, especially being I wanted to make a splash coming into the NAL in a new league and make it fun for the players. We have 9 different variations within our 3 regular season uniforms. So that's, pretty solid. The players like to have fun with that stuff. And you see the one on the far left, that's our Coal Rush jersey for our Coal Miner Appreciation Night, which was an awesome night for us last season. And so really carrying that in. I mean, we're going to look clean. We're going to look sharp. That's the point. That's what we're trying to put out there. We're a professional league. We got to look professional. We did a good job with that last year. I kind of prepared our guys, the standard of what we're going to be a part of going forward. And they all bought into it. And they could easily say, well, the other team's not doing that. The other team's not doing this. And they didn't. They bought into what we want, that what we had. We were a tight group. They pretty much listened to everything that we had. The biggest thing why that worked for them to follow direction and buy in, because we had everything else taken care of. They didn't have to worry about anything. Their body recoveries were good. They had all the food they needed. Everything they needed as an organization is supposed to have is take care of your players, and your players are going to ball. The organizations that take care of their players are the most successful. Because you're going to get the better players. You're going to get some of the better players coming to your place. We just got a van. We just got a 12-passenger van for our house guys. That's big. And I'll put all the pictures out there and stuff once we get it wrapped. We just got it quoted and all that, and we'll get it wrapped next week. So adding that, to be able to add transportation for some of the players, because not all the players drive. Not all the players have a car when they're here. So they're carpooling, going to and from practice and gym and all of our different places that we have. So to be able to offer something for them to have, not every team has that, and I didn't know, like the first time I seen with Omaha, they got 2 team cars. They had freaking 2 other cars. I mean, they had everything they needed to take care of their people. People don't think about that stuff. That's the player. You ask the players to do stuff. Well, you need to try to help provide it the best you can. And we were in a position to do so. Our owners do a good job of taking care of us and giving us the resources needed. Slow process building up. And, there's a lot more stuff that I want to have that we just ain't ready to have yet. From a financial standpoint, you can't buy everything that you want. You got to really focus on the things that's going to be important for us right now. And, and we've done that so far.
Switching it up to game day on March 10th against the Colorado Spartans, there is a group of individuals that are coming to the arena, Steeler greats. How did that all set up to get them associated with the Miners and doing this autograph session? How did that? Well, who came up with the idea? How did it happen? How did you get these guys here that willing?
So the local group, Dazzle Sports, they're in the Harrisburg area, really made an emphasis of trying to help us with, some of the marketing for that, and gave us that idea to bring in some celebrity type players, former players. So this was the first batch for us to really give it a go and see how it works out, to get the fan involvement. And if it goes the way we want to, then we'll bring in some other players. Some WVU guys, some, there's all kinds of players that do that as far as a part of their, they're doing it to make a little money too, to keep up with some stuff. And, but a lot of those older players, like those old Steelers, this is Steelers country. Like there's a lot of Steelers fans here. They all know who those players are. And it's just trying to, do something cool for the fans, get that engagement. The idea anytime you do something like that is to potentially get someone out to come look at the players that are going to get a ticket to our game that may have never been to one of our games before. So to be able to add all that together, and it'd be cool to have them doing the coin toss. It's going to be cool to have them, and with that emphasis of NAL game day, I wanted to be the ones to set the stage. I wanted us to be the ones, this little old developmental team, to set the bar for the NAL game day going forward. So, the other cities better step up, and I hope they outdo us, because we'll get it back when we host a championship game.
Oh, well, I don't look at Matt's expression. Uh-oh.
No, I mean, I just love Coach's boldness. I mean, it's not the first time I've heard him say it, and it's not going to be the last time I'll hear him say it. So
well, every coach should have that.
Yeah, right. I know. Oh no, 100%. Definitely, I agree. 100%.
Well,
you ask Coach Tatum, he's going to definitely say the same thing. So,
well, let me tell you about that too. So I messed up in 2022. So the whole time I was talking about, we're going to get there. We're going to get there. We're going to get there. Right. I wasn't saying we're going to win the championship. We're going to get there. We're going to win it. We're going to host it. We're going to win it. When we get there, we're going to win it. It was it's almost like I was satisfied of being there. Now I know I wanted to win. We always want to win, but it's all about the mindset. What you think and perceive is going to happen. If you have negative thoughts, it's going to be negative. So ever since then, I said, I ain't never saying that again. We're hosting, we're in it, we're winning. There's no question. So, but I truly mean it. I mean, we're going to have a really good team. I don't feel like we're going to lose very many games. There's a couple games on our schedule that we're paying attention to. It's hard. The coaches say that they don't look down the road they're freaking lying. They're looking at their freaking schedule and know who they're playing down the road, because we're always preparing. If you're preparing properly, you're going to have a base game plan for all your games, all film, and everything's going to be done for the season. Obviously, when you get to that week, you're going to check your notes and you're going to see where you're at, what's changed from the film now up to this point. I'm not going to tell everyone how to scout and do all that stuff, but it's a process. So the coaches that say, oh, they're not going to freaking look down the road, yes, you are. And there's Coach Manas, 2022. Yeah, I know you beat our butt in a championship game. We got smoked. We won 3 games during the season, and then we got smoked. Like we
blame the hibachi restaurant.
Yeah, that was the best time. That every time we go I make sure we ate at that dang hibachi place. That was one of my favorite places. That was pretty good. Let's see, you didn't go, but it was your partner at the time, Zach. Right? He went.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yes. I was in the hype video for the championship game.
Yeah.
Where I called Albany old and slow.
Yeah, we appreciate that.
My bad, Coach. I'm here for you, man.
They put it on us for sure. So, but from that moment, that's why I say that all the time, Matt. But again, we are going to be pretty good this year. Columbus is going to be tough. They're just a scrappy group. It doesn't matter what year, what league, who's the coach. It's just the type of players they got. A lot of those players have been with that team for a long time, and that it's a dogfight, and it's a battle. It's can we win? Sure. Is it going to be easy? No. So it's going to be all around. Sioux City. I'm looking forward to seeing Sioux City. What I think is the most coolest about that whole situation with Sioux City coming is they played in here in the old venue when it wasn't remodeled, playing the Greyhounds. So when they come back, if the equipment manager guy comes, I think he's one of the only ones that's been with them the longest. Is that right, Matt?
Yeah, I think him, and then obviously Irv has been there forever too.
Yeah.
Was Irv with them when they played the Greyhounds?
I can't
sure.
answer. Yeah, I'm pretty sure he was though.
But for them to come here and see that and see the changes and everything, that's going to be cool for them. And the fans remember, a lot of Greyhound fans remember them. And so I make sure I tell our fans and our people when we're talking about Sioux City coming here. They played against the Greyhounds, and then Omaha's been in 20 plus years, 26 or whatever it is now. But, they want to hear that stuff. That's important. That's the kind of league that we're in. Now, obviously, we've had some ups and downs in the offseason, and I think we're fixing that with different things in place going forward. And, Brandon Eichert is doing a hell of a job for us right now. The biggest thing that I appreciate with Eichert is the accountability that he's going to hold over the teams. It's black or white. If it's not an ops manual, we ain't doing it. If it's in the ops manual and you ain't doing it, fine, right? So everything is laid across, and when everyone's held accountable, that stuff's not going to happen. We're not going to have teams drop out when things are handled properly the way they should be across the board. And it wasn't even so much of anyone's fault. It's just that everyone wants leniency. And as soon as you don't adhere to your rules and your ops manual, all hell's going to break loose. So, and everything that happens in this game can be prevented. And I tell my guys here all the time that no matter what happens, the model stays the same. No matter what city we're in, what town, what team, we're all doing the same stuff. It's the people that mess it up. It's the people that don't ride. They want to pull the rope the opposite direction. And it's the players that always, or not the players, but the people that always mess it up. It is never the scheme. It's never what you're doing sales wise. The people mess it up. And you can look at every issue that's had, somebody's messed it up.
So, Coach, you talked a little bit about, being kind of excited about that Sioux City game. We've talked ad nauseum on this podcast about that renewed rivalry with Carolina and all that. So are there any specific games? I know you said like everybody looks at the games and they figure out like, okay, like they're paying.
They do. Matt, you've been doing this for a long time. You're going to tell me that those coaches ain't looking at the damn roster, the schedule down the road?
No, they are. 100%. But is there any games specifically that you're looking forward to as a coach other than the Sioux City game?
I'm looking forward to the first Colorado game, March 10th, because I want our fans to see great competition and to see the difference between where we came from to where we are now. And we are going to be solid across the board. Obviously, everyone wants the answer. Yes, I'm looking forward to the March 15th game playing against Carolina. One thing that I will make sure that I will say now is we will not lose to Carolina, right? And I'm sure it'll come up at some point, but Coach Negron stepping down and being the president, all that stuff, I think that's dumb. I get it from the business standpoint of what you're trying to do, but you couldn't have done that like weeks ago, month ago. Like you didn't, like then you could have had in place somebody that you wanted to have as your head coach. If anyone on their staff takes over as the head coach now, they got zero chance. And I'm saying that right now. They have zero chance, right? Speedy played for me, right? I have all the respect in the world for Speedy. And he had his opportunity as a head coach last year. But it's all about the experience. Just because you were a good player don't mean that you're going to be a good coach. And he's got a lot to learn, and he does. But he's been around the game for a long time, been around a lot of great people. But I'm not losing to someone with not that much experience, first and foremost. Second, Coach Bonner, I don't know much about him, but I know he bounced around some other teams and different things like that. So I mean, good luck to them. If they thought they had any chance, now with making the move, I was joking with the grown today, telling them that you're still going to call – the only game you're still going to call plays is March 15th. So you're not going to let a developmental team come in your building on your opening night and put the smack down on you. You're not going to allow that to happen. So you're definitely calling the plays. And, jokingly, he said, well, how did you know? And, it is what it is. But whoever's there, it doesn't matter. I'm looking forward to the Carolina game. All 3 games that we got against them. They know they're starting the season off with 3 losses. I already told them that they got the easiest schedule out of everybody in the league because they just have to worry about 7 games. All the rest of us got more games to worry about than 7. They just have to focus on the 7 games, which that's going to put them in a problem where they might not finish second in the conference, in the division. So they got a long ways to go, and that might be 2 years in a row where they didn't make the postseason.
Well, besides Colorado and Carolina and Sioux City, is there anyone else on the schedule?
I mean, Columbus. We already talked about Columbus a little bit. They're solid.
Yeah.
They're solid.
Former stopping grounds, 2013. Am I correct?
Yeah, defense coordinator there. Still got a lot of friends down there. Good friends with Coach Daniels. He was my DC in 17 with the Grizzlies. That it is really good to see him and the success that he's been having. They're speedy. He's gonna be competitive. He knows. He knows what's coming. He knows that they're got to be on their game. They got to be prepared, or it's going to be ugly. It's going to be an ugly night for them if not. But yeah, so Coach Daniels done a heck of a job in Columbus. I want to say some of the other coaches there were also players during that time, and they were teammates. So it's good to see those guys, really, really finding their groove and having the opportunity for their success that they've had, and just to have opportunities, what is first and foremost. Beaumont and Shreveport, I'm looking forward to going to Shreveport. Shreveport's been joking about saying the championship comes through Shreveport, and I would chime in and tell them it does. We're coming through March 22nd. So yeah, that's pretty cool. Beaumont to me is kind of the wild card, really. To not really sure how they're gonna be. They're going to be competitive because the owners there, they want to win. So they're going to put together a great product on the field. So, we'll be ready for them when they come here. And, we're preparing for everybody. It is one game at a time. It is. You can't get to week 2 until you get past week 1. You can't be undefeated unless you get past the first game. So all those things, everyone's trying to be undefeated. The good thing is we're all undefeated right now. So it's just a matter who can stay that way. You always start off with the A. So who can keep it? That's what it comes down to.
Jeff?
He answered all my questions on that one.
Oh, yeah. It's basically the extension from yesterday. That's why.
Yeah.
If you want to see the prequel, ladies and gentlemen, tune in Through the Wire. That happened last night. Matt, you got any final questions for Coach?
Well,
I
think I'll have to do the token question that I always do.
You
Coach,
ask it every episode. I'm just
Coach,
saying.
how do you feel about cowbells?
Hey, we sell them at the venue. We sell them at West Bank.
All right.
Well, Coach, I want to say thank you for coming on. We're going to have to do the schedule breakdown in our little prediction. Unfortunately, Jeff can't make it because he's associated. I technically can't make it, so we're going to ask Matt to do the over-under for this episode because you're the only one that's not associated with the Miners. We're trying to keep it as fair as possible.
Who cares? Just be honest. Be honest. I'm not going to be mad at you. I'm not going to be mad at you. I'm going to put you on the spot. Now you got to do it.
There it is, Coach Rez. He's the one who said it right
The number
there.
you're trying to reach is no longer in service.
That's right. You ain't going to hurt my feelings if you don't have us up there. It's all right. It's all good.
Well, I'll stick around and the green
It
screen.
better not be worse. It better not be worse than 8-2. I'll tell you that right now. We're going to fight.
But he's not going to be mad at you.
Yeah.
What is that, Coach? It's just a 2x4. Whack!
Just like the drone, he knows it's coming. Belt to ass don't mean I don't like you.
He's definitely throwing you in the river, Jim.
That would be pretty impressive, by the way. Just saying. But probably if I said that, CJ would get me anyways. I think CJ is going to throw me in the river anyways.
I'm going to tell you how I feel, and then you can do it with what you want. I feel that we will probably be around 9-1. I'd like to be undefeated. Sioux City is going to be a tough game. The coaching staff there has been together for a long time. I think it's going to be a close game, but it's going to come down to some different situations from that aspect of it. Mm-hmm. I put my guys first, their guys any day, but I would be a fool to tell you if we're going to be undefeated. That we got a tough schedule, across the board. But I feel that if we slipped up one, Sioux City possibly could be that and be 9-1. Columbus could be tough there at the end, playing back to back. Hopefully we beat them at home, and then if we lost on the road, that's the 8-2 where my mind's at. I really feel we could be 9-1. I know we're 3-0 right now because Carolina does not have a chance against what we got going on, and I hope they like it, and I hope they use that and put it up on their board because I got Cobra stuff I can burn too, baby. So we could have fun with it.
Well, I don't have to avoid CJ. I'm just going to say that he just made the comment.
You better run, Jim.
I don't run fast. I'm just saying. I guarantee that water is going to be cold too. Mm-hmm. No. I don't feel like going to the hospital. Just say.
The one thing that helps for us, obviously the biggest thing that all teams have to pay attention to is to stay healthy. If you can stay healthy, you got a chance to do everything that you're thinking you're going to do. But I feel that we got one of the top quarterbacks in the league. We got one of the top quarterbacks in the country. Doesn't matter the league, indoor, outdoor, doesn't matter. He's a stud, and when you got an MVP caliber, quarterback leading the way, it's still a quarterback-driven league. However you look at it, and that's what really sets us apart from some of the teams for sure.
Well, Coach, I want to say thank you for coming on the show. Me, Jeff, and Matt will break it down, especially with the schedule. You're more than welcome to stay in the green room until after the episode. And to the
I'm listening.
Me kicking you off the show, you'll just call me and I'll be in the whole ordeal. But
no, I appreciate you guys, and you guys do a good job. I'm gonna take the time to appreciate you guys, and everything that you guys do for the game and for our league is awesome. Glad to see you finally getting an NAL game day. I know that was one of your dreams when you first started the whole thing, that to be able to do that one day, and it's cool to see it all come to fruition, and that I get to be part of your first time making it happen. So congrats to y'all, and looking forward to an awesome season.
There'll be the first NAL game day, and it's the original one. And I've hear there's copycats out there. Not here. There's actually logos copycatting, but we're the first. We're the OG. We're the originals, and we're going live. So we'll see how it goes, and I'm excited about it. Got a great event. It's gonna be a great weekend when we go up there. Probably do multiple shows. Honestly, we're evading Jeff's show on Friday night. I'm just saying. But I digress. That's what Boys to the Wheel. What's the name of the podcast?
Boys from the Wheel.
See, a little plug in there for you there, Jeff.
Appreciate it.
Coach, stick around. We'll wrap up with the schedule breakdown, and then we'll send the fans off to another week of NAL coverage next week, and we'll wrap up the show. So we'll be back right after this, ladies and gentlemen. This is Inside the Walls podcast. Welcome back. Oh, and the screen is all messed up. And this is when
there we go.
There we go. There we go. Technology helps us. And we're going to do the schedule breakdown. And I got called out by Coach Rez, so therefore I got to do it. So unfortunately, if I get called out, that means Jeff, you got to do it too.
Nope. Herb Street rule.
Herb Street rule. Do you get paid like Herb Street? Yes or no?
No, but
then you're going to do it. But anyways, the 2025 schedule for the William Miners is out, and this was created. And no, I am not stealing this from anybody. I've been accused of stealing stuff from Jeff. This is actually a Jeff graphic he created, so I'm not really stealing it, Jeff. This is you. Giving you credit there, sir.
Appreciate you.
Don't come after me with a lawsuit. We are borrowing your stuff. We kick off the season at home March 10th against the Colorado Spartans. Then Carolina on the road, 3-game road trip plus a bye week in there at Carolina, Rubru, and Carolina. Then Carolina home with a bye week in between there with the Spartans. You look at the schedule, first half. All the road games in that last stretch of the 4 games, 3 at home, 2 against Columbus, especially the one with Sioux City. Seeing that you can't pick the games, Jeff, what are you thinking about this 2025 schedule?
I think having the home games. Well, their boss chimes in and says I have to, so I will. But I think the stretch of the home games down at the end of the schedule is really a plus side for that playoff push for the Miners, because playing at home is really of importance. And having 3 out of the last 4 games there at home is a big to do for us, and that's a great thing for the Miners to have.
Okay, seeing that you are the color commentator, we are giving you the Herb Street rule here because you don't want to have the bias. You set the over-under.
I'm gonna say
I put you on the spot too.
yeah, you did. I'm gonna say we're gonna get rid of the half. I'm gonna go 8.
8.
Set the bar high.
Set the bar high. 8. Matt?
I'm gonna go push.
So 8. So you're comping out at 8 too.
Yeah, I'm gonna say 8. Yeah.
I look at this schedule and I see very competitive games. There are a couple of games on the schedule I look at, I go, if things go the way of the Miners, it could be another perfect season at 10-0. Again, it's a tough schedule, especially with Columbus there and that 3-game stretch at the end. And now with the change in Carolina, I know they have talented players, but again, coaching is a big deal too. I would have thought maybe 1 out of the 3 was going to go to Carolina. I need to see what Carolina has with the coaching staff for me to actually determine if Carolina has can get 1, maybe 2 wins. But I look at this game, the schedule. I see 8 wins guaranteed for Wheeling. I think Wheeling is one of the teams hosting the playoff game. And they'll be competing with either Omaha or Sioux City out west for home field advantage in the NAL for the playoffs. I'm going to be one of that type of person where I can literally see Carolina stealing the game and then Wheeling winning out. But I also could see Wheeling going undefeated until the final week in the season and just take the last loss of the season and just get ready for the postseason. If you look at the schedule overall, secretly pretty tough. But I look at the guy who is calling the plays. And I also look at the guy who's behind center. You go as far as your quarterback. And I think the top 2 quarterbacks in the league right now is Grant Russell and the legend himself over there in Omaha. So, at worst, 8-2, at best, undefeated. I don't think there's gonna. I don't see 9-1. I see either 8-2 or 10-0 for the Wheeling Miners this season.
Yeah, I look at this schedule and I see a lot of the same things that you said, Jim. But the one thing that stands out to me is Coach Shaw is going to have his guys ready to go. Say what you will. That road trip out to Colorado in May, that's a long road trip. And that could be a game where, depending on how things go, how the season's been going at that time of the year, depending on injuries and things like that, you just never know what either one of those teams is going to look like at that. And, don't sleep on Sioux City. We've talked about Sioux City a lot and about how good they're going to be. They get that game at home. And so same thing again there late in the season with Sioux City coming out to Wheeling to take on the Miners. But they've got some talented guys on their team as well. So I think if they do trip up a couple of times as I predicted, I could see maybe that Colorado game on the road and then that Sioux City game. And again, I'm very much like you. Like I want to see what Carolina has as far as a coaching staff moving forward, so that we can then know kind of what to expect from Carolina, and hopefully we'll know that sooner rather than later. I mean, Negron's going to have his hand in there somewhere, I think. I mean, he's gonna have his hand in there somehow. So I just don't see any way that that he's not gonna have his hand in there somewhere. But I also agree with you though. I mean, like their ceiling is 10-0. I mean, we don't know what Shreveport's going to bring. Columbus was good but last year, but again, we don't know what Columbus is going to bring this year. So it's just going to depend on kind of what how those teams are fielding and what they're doing through the season and whatnot.
One thing that, to talk about as well, as we mentioned, defensively, you return a lot of starters. You bring in Hardgrove, like Coach mentioned. You bring back Grant, and then also you add CJ Kane. But one thing also is that receiver group that the Miners have put together. There's a lot of depth there. There's a lot of guys that can run routes. There's a lot of speed also. So, I mean, they can beat you fundamentally, and they can beat you with speed as well. And they're not afraid to put their hands on you and get physical as well. So, I mean, it's a very dynamic receiver room as well. So you can add that into the position groups.
And also a rock and roll Hall of Famer. Prince. I'm just saying.
Well, and also, too, another cool thing, we were talking about players being local. They just signed Joel Lima, who is the kicker who kicked at Lindsley, which is a private school inside of Wheeling, and also played at Wheeling University. So played his high school ball here, and his collegiate career here will continue his professional career here in Wheeling. So pretty cool as well there.
So local fever for Wheeling. We'll be there live March 10th, 4 o'clock p.m. on all social media platforms for NAL Game Day, Spartans and Willie Myers Loaded Show. Yes, we will have a guest speaker, by the way, or guest picker, not speaker. We have multiple guest speakers. Guest picker that will be announced later this week. That will end the show. But yeah, we'll be there live. So get your tickets now. For the people who are listening to Wheeling, you know where to go to get your season tickets. And actually, Jeff knows exactly what number to call. Jeff?
Yeah. Call the arena box office.
You're not ready for it. I put you on the spot.
No, I wasn't. You did. You threw it right at me. You threw it right at me. Right at me.
You failed.
I did.
You looked at that four-seam fastball. It's like, oh, that's not.
Yeah.
304-233-7000 for your.
There it is.
Yeah. Anyways, gents, next week we gotta get 1 week closer, and we're gonna do something different next week. A little change of schedule because of the news that came out of Carolina. We were going to do the rivalry, the original NAL rivalry between Carolina and Columbus. Next week, we're going to head to Texas to check on the Beaumont Renegades and preview their season and what's going on down there in Texas. And then capping off after that, we'll do the Carolina and Columbus preview. And then it's game week. So the schedule will get a little unique there. We will be moving our show back to its original time on Tuesdays during the season. So you might get double feature of Inside the Walls podcast / game. Well, you are going to get double feature. We are doing a game day each week. It would just be on location or not on location. But there will be a game day each week. Any final words there, Matt?
No, I'm just looking forward to the season. It's going to be here before we know it. Training camp start next week everywhere. And just really excited. Make sure you check out the Prime Cuts next week. We're interviewing former Iowa Hawkeye and Tennessee Titan Caleb Shudak on the podcast.
Oh, got an Iowa guy coming on the show. Jeff, any final words?
Excited for the season. Just like Matt said, camp does start next week. So excited for that. Thursday night camp starts for the Miners. So that'll be fun. Getting in and seeing everybody. So just excited for the season to start. We're almost there, almost here.
And before you know it, camp starts next week. The guys report for all the teams and organizations. And then before you know it, we'll have the final rosters and toe will hit leather. Then there'll be a party in Wheeling over kickoff weekend, but there are other games happening in NAL, and we will give you breakdowns, ladies and gentlemen. Just a little tidbit. During NAL game day, we will be talking about the 2 previous games that happened on that Saturday night. So you'll get coverage of what happened in week 1 of the National Arena League. And also, we got some preseason football that we might mention. Well, we will mention next week because there will be some preseason football games in the National Arena League playing. So no further ado, ladies and gentlemen, that is Matt Patton, that is Jeff, and I am Jim. It's episode 176. We'll be back next week. Keep an eye on social media because you may not know what will drop from any of our platforms. With that, be well. We'll see you next week.